Okay, so in Psalm 91, it says, he who dwells, just say the word dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. So that's what you say. You say, my refuge. You speak to him like that. So everyone say, my refuge. Everyone say, my fortress. Everyone say, my God. Now everyone say, I trust you. See, even what you just said breaks something off of you when you talk like that. So this is a conditional promise. It says in verse 1 and verse 2, he who dwells in the shelter. So you dwell. You don't come there on Sundays. You just don't come into the shelter of the Almighty when you're driving through your car and you got the worship music playing for your 20-minute commute. You dwell. That means you're praying when you're thinking. It means that the thought is like aroma of the incense that's rising from your mind. Everything that's noble, everything that's lovely and pure, think on these things. It says pray without. How do you do that? God, meet me in my dreams. Even when I'm sleeping, meet me there. God, I'm not ceasing from this place. I'm talking to my boss, but I'm dialoguing with my Holy Spirit. I'm talking to my spouse, but I'm dialoguing with you. There's something about pray without ceasing is how you dwell in the shelter of the Most High. We don't need more services. We need more dwelling. And then it says, if you do this, and then now you have to get your tongue to align with your dwelling. So now you start speaking, I trust you, my fortress. I trust you, my refuge. And then if you do that, he will, everybody say will. So when you read the scriptures, you have to pay attention to the language because the Bible is the constitution of the kingdom. It's legal language and it gives you rights. It gives you privileges according to your ability to exercise them and understand them. So when I read the word will as a parent, if I tell my kids, we will go out to eat later, what I'm saying is stop bothering me. I'm not going to do it on your timeline. Dad's busy. We will go when it's time to go. Am I right? Don't manifest. Will is a promise. So it says, if you abide in his presence, under the shadow of his wings, and then you speak to him and declare him as your refuge, as your strength, as your portion, it says he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from deadly pestilence. Now, snare is a very important picture because it means he will protect you from that which you cannot prepare for. Come on, doomsday preppers. Come on, people with 40 pounds of food in your basement. Come on, find out who they are, Mom, so we can survive. A snare is a thing that you can't prepare for. And so did you know that even the wisest among us will get caught in a snare? Did you know that even we evade a snare? That's why we must come up under the presence of the shadow of the Almighty so that we don't end up in the snare of the fowler. It's the unexpected that will get you. And then it says he will, see this promise language, cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a buckler. Watch this illustration. So in the New Testament, there's also another occurrence of the word shadow. But Peter was walking and it said that his shadow could heal people. But when you study the original Greek, it's not talking about a physical phenomenon. It's actually saying his presence was as if it casted a shadow upon the person that he was walking past. And the reason why that's important is because shadows change atmospheres. So run up here real quick, Bella. Or Jules, you want to come? Jules? Somebody. Here, button your shirt up or something. Okay, so now let me hear you stand behind me. So the lights here are hitting me. Behind Bella, here, go over there where my shadow actually is. So Bella is standing in my shadow. Do you see that? So here's the thing. She has a different reality than anyone else who would stand on this stage because my presence dictates the direction of light. So what's happening right now is she is standing in my shadow, which means her experience is different. And if she stayed there long enough, have you ever been in a hot day and you walked in between buildings and it was cool in the alley because there's a shadow that had been covering it for a length of time? See, what happens is even the temperature changes in my shadow. But watch this. She's in my shadow. Now she's not. She's in my shadow. Now she's not. Because shadows have definable geographic boundaries. You're good. Thanks, babe. So here's what you need to understand. When you dwell under the wing of the Almighty and you abide in his shadow, abiding requires boundaries. And it's not that he changed his position, it's that we change ours. If you are single, do not come up out of... Yeah, I know. Do not come out from underneath the covering of his wing, because when you leave the boundaries of how to sexually satisfy yourself and it's outside the boundaries of covenantal relationship, then you come out from the covering of the Almighty. But if you'll stay under his wing, sometimes church leadership will correct you and they'll get in your business and tell you something you don't want to hear, but don't leave the boundaries of that covering, because you're under the shadow of the Almighty if you abide. It's the pottery that stays on the wheel that gets molded. And if you come up off of the wheel, you will end up deformed and deficient. If you get impatient and you say as the pottery to the potter, why are you doing this to me? And you try to get up off the wheel before it's your time. There's something about staying within the geography, to stay within the boundaries of what the Lord wants you to stay in. So when I read this, it was conditional. The first two scriptures are in conditions, and then the remainder, several, are promises. Isn't it just like God? You surrender the little that you have, and then he gives you the much that he has. And then just like God, he says 1,000 may fall to one side and 10,000 on the other side, but you will still be standing. Nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks at midday, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. He's beginning to give promises. You will be safe because you have made the Lord your dwelling place. You haven't made the Lord your quick fix. You haven't made the Lord your feeling that tantalates and stimulates your emotions when you're feeling down. You haven't made the Lord your church conference experience where you go to just get a little bit of deliverance so you can go back into the sin. You haven't. Oh, I know I'm preaching to somebody. You have made the Lord your dwelling place. God, I'm dwelling here. I'm praying when I don't want to pray. I'm fasting when I don't want to fast. I'm reading when I don't want to read. I'm evangelizing when I don't want to evangelize. Not my will, thy will, I'm dwelling. Everybody kept asking me, when are you going to move to Long Island? Why you stay in New York City? Because there's power in dwelling. Planting your feet and being stubborn and saying, you principalities and powers, you're going to have to contend with me while I live on this block. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, your worst day was when my U-Haul pulled up. Your worst day was when I opened my eyes this morning and decided to speak in tongues. Your worst day happened. I want to terrorize the devil. I want the devil to rue the day that he lost his hold on me. Come on, somebody. But that comes with dwelling. Here on Long Island, we're not going anywhere. We outlasted this music venue when they used to pump their music to the other side, and now we're pumping worship to the other side of every wall. We are going to outlast. There's something about the children of God. We know how to dwell. You hear me? We know how to, some enemies you can't kill instantly, but you dwell. You say, okay, let's duke it out. I'm here for the long haul. I'm committed to Northwest Indiana for the long haul. The devil thought I left, and I said, I'm back. I'm back. Stop letting the devil push you around. Dwell. Dwell. So then you go on to Matthew 14:31. You got Peter walking on the water. Now here's the thing we know about the character of God. He doesn't do anything normal. Jesus, if he's going to turn water into wine, he turns a lot of water into a lot of wine.